He is the worst superstar I have ever seen.
Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because the NBA's silent superstar just got caught in the loudest scandal of his career. Kawhi Leonard, the man who barely talks on the court, is now making headlines off it for allegedly pocketing $28 million without lifting a single finger. Yep, you heard me right. Millions for nothing. But here's the kicker. Stephen A. Smith is done staying quiet. He's coming after Kawhi with flamethrower-level insults, calling him the worst superstar ever. So what's really going on? Is this the biggest fraud scheme in NBA history? Or just Kawhi being Kawhi? They say silence is golden. But in Kawhi Leonard's case, it might just be worth $28 million. Yes, you heard that right. The man famous for barely cracking a smile, barely speaking above a whisper, and barely playing half the games he's paid for has now been caught in a scandal that makes load management look like child's play. Kawhi, the so-called Claw, has allegedly been pocketing millions from a shady endorsement deal without saying a word, filming a commercial, or even pretending to care. It's the kind of plot twist you'd expect in a Netflix scam documentary, not from one of the NBA's supposed superstars. And if that wasn't enough to make your jaw drop, enter Stephen A. Smith, the loudest voice in sports media, who has officially declared Kawhi the worst superstar I've ever seen. But let's rewind for a sec, because this isn't just about one suspicious contract. This is about a pattern, a trail of controversy that stretches back years, painting the picture of a player who might just be the most expensive ghost in professional sports. Think back to his dramatic exit from the San Antonio Spurs, where he sat out an entire season, citing an injury the team's own doctors cleared him. Remember the bizarre free agency saga in 2019, where his uncle, yes, Uncle Dennis, was allegedly asking teams for private planes, secret ownership stakes, and backdoor endorsement? Other franchises laughed him out of the room, but the Clippers, And now here we are a year later, with a smoking gun in the form of a $28 million contract with a so-called eco-friendly company named Aspiration. Sounds wholesome, right? A bank that plants trees, saves the planet, and makes you feel good about it. Except, plot twist, it was a scam. Federal investigators say Aspiration was nothing more than a glossy fraud, a greenwashed Ponzi scheme that tricked investors, inflated and pocketed hundreds of millions while the same. And guess who was collecting the fattest check? Not Leonardo DiCaprio, not Drake, not even Robert Jr., all of whom actually showed up to. No, it was Kawhi Leonard who raked in 4 times more than them, while doing nothing. And here's where things are dicey. Reports say Kawhi's contract literally allowed him to decline every single promotional request and still collect money. A deal so outrageous it reads tire. We'll pay you millions, Kawhi, and all. Imagine being paid superstar money to stay home, play video games, and rest those famously missed knees. If that doesn't sound like salary cap circumvention dressed up in eco-friendly branding, does. Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back, dropped. He practically exploded on live TV, blasting Kawhi for scamming the system and dragging down the credibility. He is the worst superstar I have ever seen in sports, he thundered, his voice echoing across social media like a courtroom gavel slamming down. And you blame him? Kawhi has missed nearly half his games since joining the Clippers, raked in over $240 million in salary, and now, allegedly, another $28 million from a fraud hustle. It's the kind of resume that makes even James Harden look a workaholic. But here's the twist that makes this scandal more than just a problem. The Clippers billionaire owner, Steve Ballmer, bystander, deep in the mess. Ballmer, the Microsoft mega mogul with a net worth that makes Scuck look broke, personally invested $50 million in Aspiration and signed the Clippers to a $300 million part company. That sank in. The richest owner in sports, funneling money into the same company that just happened to be paying his star secret fortune. Coincidence? Or the slickest salary cap in NBA history? And so the stage is set. A silent superstar, a screaming analyst, a billionaire owner, and a fraudulent company that collapsed faster than Kawhi's availability games. The NBA has called in its most prestigious investigators, the same legal pit bulls who dismantled Donald Sterling and Robert Sarver, to figure out just how it goes. Because make no mistake, this isn't some harmless deal gone wrong. This is potentially the most explosive salary caps league has ever seen. As the investigation digs deeper, the plot thickens. Anonymous sources inside the front office have already whispered to reporters that league executives fuming over the possibility that the essentially engineered a legal loophole to cash to Kawhi. Think about it. A franchise with one of the worst injury histories in modern sports suddenly finds itself accused of playing financial hopscotch to keep a fragile superstar happy. Sitting in the middle of it all, Kawhi Leonard, stone-faced, tight-lipped, refusing to comment, as if his silence could erase $28 million in questionable payment. Fans aren't buying it. Social media had it in memes and outrage. One viral tweet showed Kawhi sitting courtside clothes with the caption, "Collecting talent too." Another TikTok stitched Stephen A. Smith's furious rant over footage of Kawhi laughing at Media Day. Millions of views overnight. The narrative is clear. The public is done giving Kawhi mysterious. Now, he's the face of NBA-wide embarrassment. And if you think this is limited to think again. Documents leaked online, grainy PDFs stamped with redacted names, allegedly reveal that Aspiration had a wish list of others wanted to bring in. But Kawhi, he was their golden goose. According to one former executive, Kawhi's deal was deliberately designed to create Benny's credibility. If Kawhi Leonard, Mr. Championship himself, was cashing checks from us, believed we were legit. It was the whistleblower. Imagine that. The same man who barely speaks in interviews used as the ultimate salesman, not by what he didn't say. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith one piling on. Rival analysts, former players, and even anonymous NBA fuel on the fire. One agent told a gossip site, "This makes Ben's saga look like amateur hour. At least Ben showed up for Media Day." Kawhi's lifting off silence. Another hot take circulating online suggests Kawhi's entire quiet guy brand was the fit camouflage for a long con. He fooled one podcast host. "We thought he was private." Turned us counting his hidden millions. Then there's the fans in Los Angeles, the ones who've spent 5 years hoping Kawhi would Clippers out of their history. Instead, they've watched him on the bench more often than he's played, while their team more to surround him with talent. Now they learn their star might be cashing fraudulent checks on. The betrayal is palpable. Season ticket holders are to radio shows demanding one fan even declaring, "We didn't buy seats to watch him steal money, seats to watch him play basketball." What makes it more outrageous is the timing. With the Clippers preparing to move into their brand new billion-dollar Intuit Dome arena, not have come at a worse moment. Sponsors are suddenly nervous. Office is scrambling to control the narrative. Steve Ballmer, the man who once screamed himself hoarse at a pep rally, is now getting questions from federal regulators about whether his franchise used a fraudulent company, money laundering hustle. The optics are brutal. Instead of celebrating a new era, the Clippers are staring down headlines that scream scam and cover up. Through it all, Kawhi sits in silence. No press conference, no Instagram post, not even a vague statement to lawyers. Just nothing. In a way, makes the whole scandal even juicier. Because when a superstar refuses to, the story only grows louder. The silence from has now become its own headline. Every day he refuses to address the conspiracy theories multiply. Knowingly cashed checks from a fraudulent company? Was he complicit in a sabotage designed to keep him in Los Angeles? Just the quiet pawn in a billionaire's chess game? Knows for sure, but what everyone agrees on, the fallout is massive. Whispers from league insides that the NBA could launch a full-scale probe, similar to the one that Sterling out of ownership a decade ago. Imagine that. The Clippers, once again at the center of the very credibility of the league. One columnist even, the Clippers don't need a champ banner, they need a legal defense fund. Behind the sarcasm, though, is a grim reality. If investigators prove the team funneled money to Kawhi through Aspiration, it could mean fines, suspensions, or even the voiding of contracts. And it's not just the league breathing down their necks. Federal regulators are reportedly circling as well. Rumors point to the SEC and Department of Justice sniffing around the financial records, looking for evidence that Aspiration's collapse was more than corporate mismanagement, that it was outright fraud. If Kawhi's $28 million payday is linked to criminal activity, then we're no longer just talking about bad optics. We're talking about subpoenas, depositions, and possibly courtrooms. Can you picture Kawhi Leonard, the man who barely speaks above a mumble, being forced to testify in front of a jury? The internet is already salivating at the thought. But perhaps the most brutal blow comes from the fans themselves. Los Angeles is a city built on stars. Bright, flashy, outspoken stars. And Kawhi, once hailed as the savior who would finally make the Clippers relevant, is now being roasted as a fraud, a paycheck collector, a ghost. Murals once painted in his honor are now defaced with graffiti. One fan posted a photo of his Kawhi jersey tossed in the trash with the caption, "Silent Thief." The sentiment is spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith is doubling down on his attack. On his radio show, he thundered, "This is not just about Kawhi Leonard. This is about accountability. If you can't show up for your team, if you can't show up for your fans, and now you're pocketing $28 million from a fraudulent company, what kind of superstar are you?" His words echo the growing chorus of critics who believe Kawhi has not only failed the Clippers, but failed the sport itself. And so, the future hangs in the balance. Will the NBA drop the hammer and make an example out of Kawhi and the Clippers? Will federal investigators turn this into the biggest sports trial since the Balco scandal? Or will Kawhi, true to form, ride out the storm in complete silence, hoping the chaos eventually burns itself? Whatever happens, one thing is, the days of Kawhi being the quiet, untouchable superstar are. Now he's the face of a $28 million fraud scheme that could shake the league to its earth. Because in the end, silence isn't. Not when it costs the NBA its credibility. Not when it costs fans their. And not when it's worth $28 million. So here's the $1 million question. Or should I say, the $28 million. Is Kawhi Leonard a victim of shady. Or the mastermind of the slickest scam in NBA history? And if Stephen A. Smith is right, does this make Kawhi the worst superstar the league has ever? I want to hear you. Drop your thoughts in the comments, don't hold back, because this story is only getting. Smash that like button, share this with your friends, and hit subscribe, because the next chapter in this scandal will blow your mind.